Hi everyone, I'm Dr. Z. I'm a clinical psychologist specializing in transgender care. Welcome to my channel. Hope everybody's doing well. If you don't yet, or you haven't yet, English, subscribe to this channel. I would very much appreciate if you do so. This way, not only are you helping me, but you're helping so many other people find this content. So your subscription is very, very much appreciated. So I really would appreciate that. Having said that, today, let's dismantle this concept of too masculine, too tradition, too trans woman, to trans femme embodiment, identity, ownership. I'm getting goosebumps because I really realize a lot of you know I have shifted to solely focus my work working with all of you trans women and trans femme identified. I just love this work. It's so dear to my heart. So I just get really excited talking about it because there's so much myths. There's so much BS out there. There's so much misconception out there. And one of the biggest ones that's holding so many of you from stepping forward is this idea that you're too masculine to transition. And of course, when you think about I'm too masculine to transition, what a lot of you are actually thinking about is I will never reach a point when I will be able to be seen and perceived as a woman. Again, we're touch basing on passing, which, yes, is not everybody's standard to reach. And I wish it wasn't a standard, but the reality is for a lot of trans women I work with, it's not so much a standard, but well, if you identify as a trans woman, that puts you on a binary end of a spectrum. Whether we want to agree or disagree the existence of spectrums, they're still there socially. And it's natural, I think, to want to be seen in your gender identity. And so for a lot of you, especially if you haven't started but really want to go through gender transition, one of the things that could be holding you back is this idea I'm too masculine. And the fear behind, again, this idea is that by this point, testosterone has done such a number on you that there's nothing that feminizing hormones are going to do to change that. And there's nothing that even maybe gender affirming surgeries can do. Now, I am going to be very upfront with all of you. You all know me for being very candid with all of you and not packaging things into concepts that are not realistic. I'm no one to actually speak on things that are pushing you more and more into reality baselines. Yes, look, it is true that hormones, feminizing hormones in of itself, especially the older you are, especially the more masculine you are, do have a limited effect. It's also true that gender affirming surgery, depending on a surgeon, can or cannot deliver to the extent you want it to deliver. And yes, it is also equally true that I have seen individuals who, if you were thinking about the concept of what a masculine looks like, I had people who were life athletes. I had people who were life football players. I mean, football player physique, tradition, and embody a graceful, completely feminine domain and be fine. But I'm not here to convince you that you have a possibility of reaching that domain, because that, to be honest, that does depend largely on your access to resources and care. A lot of people do need support in order to reach that of gender affirming surgery or surgeries. And a lot of people don't have access to those resources. What I really want to talk about is how there's so much emphasis on right now, I'm so masculine and I will never be happy because I have an ideal of my woman version inside of me. And unless I can externalize her, and unless I can really embody that, and most importantly, unless I know that this is possible, I'm not taking any steps forward. which, if you take that stance, that's your right. I'm here to tell you that there is also a stance of keeping yourself in a place of suffering, pain, and struggle. Because the truth is, you are in the space, right? Because to some extent, you have gender dysphoria. To some extent, you're not feeling aligned or comfortable with your assigned gender. This is why you even have an ideal feminine inside of you. This is why you envision yourself as a woman, because internally you are one. And all of this is bound to cause some amount of distress. It is bound to cause some amount of pain. And having such, I would say, almost like simplistic way of looking at it, I'm not going to take any steps until I know I can reach it, is not realistic. And it doesn't address the most important factor, which is your health, not only your physical well-being, but most importantly, your mental well-being. I've done a video and I've spoken about this so many times, how the stress you accumulate living with gender dysphoria, how much it affects not only your mental well-being, but over time, that accumulation of stress starts to create psychosomatic symptoms, starts to affect your physical health. A lot of you watching this know this. A lot of you already been struggling with migraines, gastronomical issues, high blood pressure, you name it. Those physical ailments are not standalone ailments. Oftentimes, this is no secret. This is no baloney. This is reality. Many doctors talk about this. How our body can start manifesting and creating physical symptoms to psychological distress as a last resort, as a last knock on the door that is telling us, wake the heck up. At first, it starts with just feeling a little stress, tension, dysphoria. I can manage it. Over time, it accumulates, where now you mentally are not equipped enough to deal with that. So when you're not equipped enough to deal with dysphoria mentally, psychologically, through coping mechanism, guess what happens? Your body starts to develop physical symptoms. And that's when your health starts to suffer. So this idea is I'm too masculine to transition becomes not only a way of you resisting to move forward because you're scared, because you're afraid. And at this point, you might be afraid that you will never reach your goal. But in doing so, you're disregarding the most important thing, is that your health. And if you don't have your health, you don't have you. Another thing that I speak about often that is so important. So many of you don't realize that you are stuck in this mental loop. I'm too masculine. I will never pass. I will never look like a woman. I will never achieve my goal. And you don't realize how much better and happier you will be once you take small steps forward. So many of you tell me when you do take a step forward, the standard of I gotta reach, I had people, have standards of, like I said before, many celebrities out there. If I don't reach this idea of looking like Sophia Loren, for example, I will never do it. Suddenly, when you start taking steps, and you not only you start feeling better, but the most important thing that is going to happen is this. You're going to start getting in touch with your feminine. You're going to start to realize that the woman in you is not Sophia Loren. She's not Angelina Jolie. She's not Grace Kelly. She's you. And that's a beautiful thing. And even though you may be resonating with the frequency or energy of any one of the celebrities because maybe you like Sophia Loren for her sex appeal, and maybe there's part of you feminine that has that sex appeal or propensity toward that sex appeal. And maybe you're drawn to Grace Kelly because the feminine, the woman inside of you is very graceful and elegant and classy. But she's still yours, and she's yours to claim. And when you start connecting to that part of yourself, remember, it's very hard. I don't want to say impossible, but it's very challenging to connect to the woman inside of you when you're not doing anything. When you're not at least, and when I say doing anything, it doesn't have to be surgical, medical transition, just connecting either through journaling, either through doing a vision board, either through starting to externalize those elements of yourself. When you start connecting to the woman inside of you, you just feel so whole. So many of you feel like a heavy load has been lifted when you start taking tiny steps forward. Is it still going to be hard? Yes. Are challenges going to go away? No. Are you going to be better off? Yes. Are you going to be more connected to yourself? Yes. Are the stressors going to go down? Yes. Is dysphoria going to start going down? Yes. Why? Because you are no longer resisting who you actually are. You are going toward who you are. Remember, that which we resist is going to persist. It does. No matter with what it is. In your case, it happens to be gender. Somebody else, if they hate what they do for a living, if somebody works in a bank and they're a banker, but their heart is really to be a baker, baker, then what do you think? You think they're going to be happy going to work? They're going to hate their work. They're going to hate serving people every single day. They're going to hate doing the job. They're going to be daydreaming about baking. When they start baking, guess what's going to happen? They're suddenly so warm and fuzzy. The next thing you know, they're bringing cookies to the bank they used to work at. This is what happens. We start to feel happy. When was the last time so many of you actually felt truly, truly happy, joyful, waking up and just feel good? You don't have to feel amazing and excellent about yourself, but how about just feeling good? So when you take small steps and you start feeling that standard, I'm too masculine to transition, suddenly becomes insignificant. Suddenly you realize how silly that is and how that is irrelevant. Do you still want to be the best internal version of yourself? Sure. Does passing still matters to some of you? Of course. But this high standard becomes irrelevant. Why? Because now your health becomes a priority. So I really encourage a lot of you who are holding down to this, I'm too masculine. First of all, again, the body is, to me to this day, is so damn fascinating. I have seen bodies change. I have seen people who were really built and ripped and muscular lose all of that muscle tone, and just losing that alters the appearance and shape. I have seen what clothing does. I have seen what just the way people start moving. I have seen just the way when people smile and feel happier, what that does to their overall appearance. So I want you to keep that in mind. Okay? This idea of too masculine is, those are just things we hold ourselves back. It's a narrative we tell ourselves because part of us is afraid to move forward. So be careful that you're also selling yourself on justifications, and it's your ego trying to sell you on justification because your ego is afraid of change. Comment below. Share with anybody who ever felt too masculine to transition and you are taking the steps, or you mid-transition or you post-transition. Comment below and share with everybody what has changed for you. Share with everybody what that has been like for you. Remember, again, transition can take so many forms. It could be just accepting yourself. That is transition. Transition is not just medical and surgical. I'm going to talk more about it because I feel like today we're so inundated with just seeing it through the medical lens. And while it is necessary and important to so many of you, it's not the only way. And then we get stuck in the standard that not only we set for ourselves, but trans community and then the world perpetuates onto us. So comment below, share with everybody what happened to you. Did that standard cease to exist? Did you suddenly realize how much happier you are? Comment below, let me know, and I will see you all next time. Goodbye.